So my refutation speech is off the advocate's position on detention centers, specifically towards immigrant children. Her proposition was the U.S. immigration detention system is substantially flawed towards immigrant children. Her proposition was pretty tight. I bent over backwards, looking at all different types of perspectives and angles towards her proposition. Her argument was pretty tight. What she failed to mention was that the detention system is one of the very few places that immigrant children can go to while crossing the U.S. border. All her information was pretty relative. They all came from the year 2018, and I think her proposition should be changed to the U.S. immigration detention system is an inadequate way of living, and putting and it's inhumane, or that it's inhumane to keep children under these circumstances.
Well, I guess the suggestion that you're making here is that there isn't an argument because there are flaws in the system and it's problematic, and nobody disputes that those flaws exist. There might be other arguments, though, that are relevant to this issue. For instance, why does this system have to exist in the first place, and what alternatives are available? Is this a more successful alternative than whatever other possibilities there are? That might be the way to go about responding to this particular point. You basically kind of accept the premises that the advocate presents and suggest that really there's a different argument about humanitarian issues, which is a value claim, and that's where the dispute is. You could, so what you need to do is you need to develop an argument that says there's no dispute that the system is flawed. Nobody is happy with it, regardless of what the situation is. So that's not where the argument is. The argument is whether or not this is fair and just, and that's a value claim, and it's outside the purview of this particular assignment. Let's talk about the things on which there's no dispute. There's no dispute that the places are overcrowded, that they don't have the resources that they would like to have, and that sometimes children end up being separated from their parents much longer than is desirable. But let's also point out the context in which this argument takes place. People who have decided to take the risk of crossing the border illegally, who, when caught, end up in custody, and the alternative is that they're put in custody with adults, which is potentially problematic, or the adults that they're with may not, in fact, be their parents, which does happen to some degree with the coyotes who are bringing people across the border. So there's a question about who's responsible and who you're giving the kids back to, and I think that's the reason that we're in that situation in the first place. So I just think you need to give us more context on the argument, and then if you're going to make the value claim, you're going to have to change what it is that you say we're talking about. Like I said, it feels more like a critique of the argument than it is a response to the argument. All right, thank you.